Welcome to the Open Apple podcast, where we celebrate the Apple II. Whether you're a long-time user, a nostalgic visitor, or a newcomer to the community, join us as we share news and memories of Steve Wozniak's most famous personal computer.
Hello and welcome to Open Apple. This is episode 67 for January 2017. It's a brand new shiny year. It's not even dirty yet. As is annual tradition here on Open Apple, we usually do a roundtable with some luminaries from the community, and this year is no exception. We're doing it a month late this year, just because we wanted to do some other interviews last month. But yeah, here we are now. So we've got a large roundtable for you this month, so it's pretty exciting. And, we're going to do our sort of usual format. We're going to go around the table. We're going to ask everyone some questions, how they're feeling and what they're doing, Apple II related. And, hopefully we'll have some fun. I am your co-host of the first, as always, Quinn Dunkey. With me, as always, is co-host of the second, Mike McGinnis. How you doing, Mike?
Well, this year can't be any worse than last year, right? Am I right? Please be right.
Yep, that's a mic open if I've ever heard one.
I'm okay, Quinn. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I got some retro computing stuff in the pipeline for 2017, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's dive in with our panel here. So we've got a 6-person table, as the RCR would say. We have a hexagon this time around, and let's start by going around the table and introducing ourselves. Tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, and maybe what your first Apple II experience was. So let's start with you, Jeremy.
Hi, everybody. I've always lived in Australia, and I got into the local hospital here as I've just graduated as a nurse. So that's what my 2017 is mainly going to be about. But when I'm not doing healthcare stuff, I'm just downstairs in my townhouse. We've got a computer room set up. And it's a lot of Apple II sort of disk imaging going on and more magazine scanning than I can handle.
So what kind of magazines are you scanning?
I've just picked up some more Apple News and Apple Talks. They're sort of self-published ones that they did for Australia, only about 6 or 7 pages in length, so I'm just finishing up those. But that's just to add to the rest of the A+ and Insider sort of things that I had going on before. So the Google Drive thing is getting very full.
Excellent. Always like to hear about some scanning going on. Mike, you're a big scanner yourself, yeah?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, so it's fun to see somebody else do a lot of this stuff, because scanning, if nothing else, is monotonous.
And it's thankless until someone needs that document that you've scanned. Yeah. I'm extremely thankful for all the people scanning all these books that I always seem to need. All right, moving one notcher on the table, let's go to Jorma.
Okay, my name is Jorma Honkanen. I'm coming from Finland, and I'm a family man. I have a 8-year-old daughter. And I'm an IT specialist in a very large Japanese IT company. And what about the Apple II? Believe it or not, but I first got my first Apple II about 2010. Because actually Apple IIs were not popular in Finland back in the 80s. I mean, they were expensive and not for the kids who wanted to play the games. So basically, you have to have Commodore 64 or such for gaming at the time. But later on, maybe I got more wise and got into real computers. So that's what it's all about.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us so early in the morning. I understand it's about 7 a.m. in Finland right now.
No. 10 p.m.
Oh, you're 10 p.m. Okay, is it Australia where it's 7 a.m. right now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, math is hard. All right, and let's see. We'll go around to Kate, who's been on the show before. Tell us again a little bit about yourself, Kate.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kate Szkotnicki. I live in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, and I'm a home economics teacher, which sounds really weird on a podcast like this, but my hobby is being a professional nerd. So I have my apples and all my other nerd stuff. And I think my first Apple experience was when I was in kindergarten, and that was when I was just kind of like, these are the coolest things I've ever seen.
Excellent. And last but not least, a man who probably needs no introduction in the Apple II community, but we'll introduce him anyway, Chris Torrence.
Hey, how you guys doing? So I'm Chris Torrence, and I'm a software engineer by day, but I also teach part-time at a middle school, and I do Apple II computing in the evenings. As far as my first experience, I got an Apple II Plus back in, I guess it was 1981. My family actually won it in a contest and saved me from buying a trash 80 instead. And I've been using it on and off for years. Lately, I've been doing a lot of kind of podcasting with hardware testing and also scanning a lot of Roger Wagner's old Apple materials and putting those up on the Internet Archive.
Awesome. And you run a YouTube channel, yes?
Yes, I do. Yep. And I try and have fun videos, although I think my daughter described me as boring. So I need to maybe I need to up my game a little bit and smile more or something. But
well, I politely disagree. I think your videos are delightful.
Thanks.
You just posted one, didn't you?
I did. In fact, I just posted one this morning about the 8-bit DOE gamepad for the Apple II, and wasn't the most glowing review, but I tried to be honest. So.
Yeah, I've heard some mixed reviews from every source about that thing, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So the first question I'll put to our esteemed panel is, what role do you think retro computers can play in teaching modern kids about computing? I like to talk about how we all grew up in a world that started with no computers and ended with the internet. And so for us, it was sort of this transition. Whereas, I think about like my 9-year-old nephew who has never known a world without iPads, which seems very strange and foreign to me. So I wonder, what challenges kids today might have in really understanding this technology if they haven't sort of seen its origins and seen it progress. So, do you think retro computers can play a role in teaching kids about this stuff? So, I guess let's start with Kate, since it's sort of her wheelhouse.
Yeah, I feel like this question is directed at me just because I just did this again in my classroom. One of the classes I teach is an intro to education, and I took the 2GS and the 2E in and set up some emulators because I've got 19 kids in my class. And I had them on the machines playing like Operation Frog and Carmen Sandiego. And they really seem to enjoy it. They seem to get a lot out of it. So I feel the reflections I got back are along the lines of, we could probably use this. It actually will help you stay on task because there's nothing else you can do. And then the other thing that I found interesting was the GS was still sitting in my classroom during another block when there was a teacher in there working with some AP computer science kids. And he actually got her on the GS writing line-driven BASIC, and she was I think she's very grateful now for what she has.
Well, that's a good lesson, if nothing else, to appreciate the modern stuff.
Yes, the know your roots thing you'd be surprised at how much weight that can have with kids when they realize that it wasn't always like this and everything wasn't super, super intuitive. Like, they had a real hard time with the fact that the stuff they were doing, you need to draw your own maps and you need to read the included instructions, and it's not just like pick it up and play. It was very eye-opening for them and for me.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you really had to read the manuals in those days, that's for sure. Yeah. All right, let's work our way backwards. Jorma, you said you have a daughter, yes?
Yeah. She enjoys playing the very simple games. I mean, the early 80s games are very simple and very easy to pick up. But in school, about this kind of computers, I think the children would be surprised that actually one person can make one project or game. You don't need a team for graphics and all different parts. One person can do actually a game. It'll be quite surprising compared to iPad games or whatever games you are playing these days.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great lesson, is just how small these platforms really are. I think, kids today may not realize that they're glorified calculators by modern standards. All right, Jeremy, how about you? Any thoughts on this one?
Mine was a little different. It's just more about the role of troubleshooting in the older computers, something didn't load correctly, you got stuck in there and maybe learned a little bit of command line or took appreciation for keeping your disks clean. I think that maintenance of a computer and realizing that it's just not as simple as tapping away gives you an appreciation for results as well. When you figure it out, you're like, oh, that's great. I feel really good because I've got my game to load. So I just think, a bit more discipline and a bit more appreciation for hardware can be gleaned from using the older stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I think nowadays it's amazing how much you can get done just by Googling whatever is broken, and you can fix stuff without ever really understanding what was wrong. And I think, in the 80s, you certainly couldn't. You had to learn about what was really going on inside. Cool. Yeah. Mike, how about you?
I think I would take the curmudgeonly role here, and I would use this.
Shocking.
I don't have kids, but I would use this as a tool to show them how soft and weak and pathetic they are, and say, this is how it used to be.
You'd make them walk uphill in the snow with it?
Yes, exactly. Both ways, no shoes.
I'm grinning at you so hard right now.
Yes, we all grin at Mike on the show. That's his role. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, well, I think I would follow on what Kate said. I've actually been teaching Python programming at the middle school, and so of course I had to sneak in the Apple II. And what I found is, like, when I'm teaching Python, the kids, they get really distracted because they have this whole desktop with all these other apps, and so they end up, half of them are working on that, and the other half are just playing JavaScript games in their browser. But when I brought in a couple Apple IIs, they were completely focused on that because, like Kate said, there really is only one thing you can do, and it's whatever you're currently doing. So I just found that they actually enjoyed that a lot more than just kind of, doing some random programming. And I actually tried both basic, and I had them do a little bit of assembly too, which I have to admit was, maybe a little over the top for them. But at the end of the day, I think they sort of got it. And it was just the fact that they had total control over the machine, I think, was just kind of an eye-opener for them. Like, they just, they could just do one thing. If they got stuck, they could just reboot the computer. And then they actually enjoyed playing a lot of the retro games too. And in fact, I had one student come up to me just the other day and ask if she could play more Oregon Trail this semester. So I think it was a good experience, and I think that they really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. When you're teaching programming on an Apple II to these kids, do you see that moment, like where the light bulb goes on, where they realize that they can get this computer to do things? I mean, I think for a lot of us, that was sort of the magic of computers early on, was that realization that you could make it do stuff. Do you see that in them?
I think exactly, because I think even when they're doing stuff on like a modern desktop, I think they just don't make the connection between the stuff they're typing and the program that they're running. It's just, there's just too much in between.
Yeah.
But, when you're using, say, the Apple II, you type a command in, you get instant feedback. And if you print on the screen, and have it go in a loop, it's going to print it 1,000 times or whatever. And yeah, it's just fascinating that they just sort of, there's just less barriers, I think, for them understanding what a computer program is and how the computer executes it.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. Yeah, the cause and effect is very direct. Yeah, it's as opposed to, you're writing Python in a browser-based, or cloud-based application of some sort. Yeah, there's just so many layers between your code and what's really happening that it might as well be magic.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Wow, those are great answers. Really appreciate everyone's thoughts on that one. Let's see. Moving right along. Let's go to... we talk a lot about the past on this show. We're all about the nostalgia. As I have said before, this show is 98% nostalgia and 2% rationalization for nostalgia. But let's dive into that 2% a little bit. I've been thinking recently, if I were to reintroduce my Apple II into my actual modern life and try to use it for something useful, what would that be and what might that look like? Because I think back to how productive I used to be with my Apple II. I mean, it was really, really useful back in school and university and so on. So can we still achieve that? Can an Apple II be useful in a modern world? And if so, how? Let's mix up the order a little bit. Let's start with Jeremy.
Well, I thought this was a bit more of a dream question, so I on the answers
That's okay too.
that I jotted down. If I could, I'd actually like a dedicated sort of music server with a really funky a 2GS style interface where I could get on a CRT monitor a nice visualizer going. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice because the 2GS is on my desk to be able to have something always playing music. So if I need to restart my Mac, I can go back to it and have something independent running, but still that sort of unique twist that the retro interface would offer. If I would use it in everyday life, well, just recently, finishing these uni assignments, I would have loved to have completed, say, an essay on one, but the problem is I just can't get referencing the same way as I can on the Mac. So I did try and sort of realised the limitations of 80 columns and how am I going to print this out and all that kind of stuff. And I went, oh, look, really, I'll just go back to some disk imaging and playing some games.
Yeah, I like that music idea. That's actually really, really cool. I've thought about doing that too. Just set up the 2GS in the living room or whatever. And yeah, if you're having a party or whatever, you can just have it running music. I think that'd be great fun. Yeah. How about you, Mike?
I was afraid you were going to ask me next. I don't know. Other than trolling on Twitter and harassing people and downloading illegal movies, I don't know that I need a computer that much. But no, I think for some of the basic tasks, word processing, and even a form of rudimentary email, electronic communications, you can still kind of help your Apple II limp along the information superhighway in the emergency lane there for a little while. So I think probably most of it I could do. It'd be difficult, and I just get irritated and throw it out the window. But I think for playing music, other than as an interface, as Jeremy suggested, I obviously I don't think the processor's fast enough to keep up with MP3 or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, for simple stuff, sure, I could make that happen.
Yeah. Well, you could throw the MP3 card in there,
right? And then it would also be a great discussion point when I hand somebody a letter that I've printed out on my RX-80, and they go, "Why does this look like this?" And I can explain what a dot matrix printer was.
Yeah, why does this letter look like garbage?
Right.
If I could add a dot point there, I did all of my labels this year in the 80-column Apple font that someone put up online. I forget it now, but all of my labels for my folders, books, they were all in the Apple II 80 column.
Nice.
Excellent. I'd love to get a label maker that would do that font. That would be great fun. Label my whole house with it.
Petition Dymo.
Yeah. How about you, Jorma?
I've been thinking about this, but I agree with Mike. There's quite limited what you can do. Yeah, but okay, you can print letters, but who reads letters anymore? Who sends letters around? So, but MP3 card would be actually quite nice. Who used to make those? I don't remember anymore. There used to be some MP3 cards you could just add on the computer. Vince, too.
Yeah,
that's about.
Was that right, Mike? Was it Vince Briel that makes those?
Vince Briel makes them. I don't know if they're still available, but yeah.
Yeah. You used to be able to buy them as a kit too. You could put it together yourself.
Yeah.
Let's see. How about Chris?
Yeah, that's a great question, Quinn. I think, I've been using my Apple II for kind of simple things where, I use it for, say, my keyboard for my Mac, using like Charles Mangan's retro connector or the Raspberry Pi. But that's not really using the Apple II itself. That's just sort of using the hardware. I would say definitely like entertainment is a big one. I still every now and then play, Apple II games. And so I think, we shouldn't completely discount that just because, there is something kind of fun about those games. And even my kids enjoy playing, some of the simpler games. I guess if I had to think of other things, I'd be like maybe home automation. If you could come up with something where, I know people have done this, where you have something to control the lights in your house or something, and your garage door opener, and that's something where the Apple II could easily make use of that. Again, the downside is you'd have to keep your machine on all the time, and they're not the necessarily the smallest machine to have running something like that. So yeah, not a whole lot, but more just kind of for fun and just playing around.
Yeah, the home automation idea is a good one. I was going to throw that out if nobody did. That I think an Apple II would be a really fun interface for that. And they don't draw a lot of power really. If you don't use a CRT monitor, especially, you could probably leave it running, not to feel too guilty about it, about the carbon consumption. How about you, Kate?
I actually do occasionally use mine to make stuff for school. I've been known to make a worksheet or a sign for my classroom on it, just for basically that exact reason, just so people look at it and go, "This looks funny." Like, why, yes, it does. Let me tell you why. As a matter of fact, it reminds me, the semester's changing, so I have to make a new schedule for myself for my door, and all the kids can look at it and be like, "You're so weird." Yes, I use my apples to advertise my weirdness. But would I like to have it sitting on my desk at school sometimes? Because I get distracted, and it'd be nice to do an entire worksheet without checking my Facebook.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's only going to do so much, and it's just the 6502 or the 65CO2 can only handle. I've tried to put I have the Ethernet card, and I was showing it to a friend of mine, and they're like, "You're kidding, you can put that thing on the internet." And I'm like, "Yeah, here." I booted up Kontiki, and it just takes forever. And it's not the connection speed, it's the 6502. So it's, would I like to? Yes. But have I accepted the reality of the situation? Also, yes.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, like Mike said, we can still, for the moment, we can still limp along in the breakdown lane with being towed along by a Raspberry Pi. But I think SSL has been the death knell of retro computers and the internet. That's sort of the line in the sand where you just can't do that anymore. But I guess if people are looking for ideas, I would look to what people currently do with Arduinos and other hobby microcontroller boards, things of that nature. Because an Arduino, I think, is very comparable to an Apple II in terms of horsepower. And people are doing things like home automation and burglar alarm projects and that sort of thing. So I think all that same stuff could be done, frankly, more fun with an Apple II, because you could have low-res graphics in your home automation interface. All right. I guess you have a lot of time on your hands. So we'll switch from the present back to the past, our favorite time in this show. So the next question is, what Apple II related item did you always want back in the day that you couldn't get? I think a lot of us got back into this hobby partly because of that. To get that applied engineering card that you never could get, or whatever, that some of which are now very cheap. Let's go backwards. We'll start with Chris.
All right. Well, my answer is pretty simple, but I would have loved to have had a second disk drive for my Apple II Plus. And just the mere fact of being able to switch to not switch disks when you're doing a copy. I only had one disk drive growing up, and so anytime you're using Copy 2 Plus or anything like that, it was just a real pain to do all the disk swapping. And so that was pretty much the first thing that I bought, maybe, 10 years ago or something like that, when you could finally get them dirt cheap. So I know that's not super exciting, but that's what I wanted.
No, that's fair. That second disk drive is a big deal. I remember a moment when we went to the computer store. I went with my dad, and I had saved up all of my allowance and recycled bottle money, and I had just enough money to buy a second disk drive, and I was very excited. And the salesman talked me into buying a 1200 baud modem instead. He said I would get more enjoyment out of that money. And, he may have been right. But I did also always sort of regret not getting that second drive, because it's a lot of disk swapping.
Yeah, that sounds like a free game.
Yeah. Let's see. How about you, Kate?
So mine was basically publicly documented this year. Thank you, Cult of Mac.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, my wish fulfillment was photographed and published on the greater internet. I always wanted an Apple IIgs. My dad got us the 2C, and the 2GS was in my school. And I was like, I want one of these, and my dad's like, yeah, no, we spent the money already. Sorry. So yeah, it's like, what do you want? I want an Apple II GS. Why? I don't know. Because that's what I want. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I just want one.
Yeah, to this day, the GS has a certain allure. There's something about it. All right, how about Jorma?
I didn't use the Apple II in the 80s, but I'm sure I would like to have the transwarp for E or GS. Let's face it, Apple II is not a fast machine, so one of the first things I want more speed.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that on the show. The 2GS is one of those computers that uniquely benefits, I think, from acceleration. You know, a lot of the 8-bit stuff, the acceleration is kind of pointless because the software just doesn't run right anyway. But yeah, the 2GS the whole machine just gets better, and it's a remarkable addition, which is, I suppose, why they are still incredibly expensive. Ironically, I think they may have gotten more expensive than they were in the 80s. They are quite hard to come by. How about Jeremy?
Mine's software. I was using the Apple IIe sort of education kind of bundled Duo Drive and composite monitor back in primary school. So for me, the hardware was there, and we actually had a full system like that at home. And I just always lusted after the Learning Company and Broadband kind of ads that I honestly don't know how we got these catalogs, but somehow we'd get software catalogs and hardware stuff. And the Macintosh was out at that time too, so you'd have a flip through these pages and see all this Apple II software, and then there'd be, you know, the Macintosh version too, and you'd be like, oh, look, it's so different. Just the promise of what you could learn, and the fact that it could be done on a computer sort of made me be convinced that I needed to get all of the software in the world. So I just would have loved to have a bigger catalogue of games that were, you know, still in the box and still in their disc sleeves and still had the catalogs with them. It's all very sort of fun stuff when you're very young with an imagination. I think you just sort of go, wow, look what I can do with this.
Yeah. So have you gone back and purchased a lot of that software since?
I did track down a box of sort of 2E and 2GS era software, and that's come in pretty handy lately. But as far as finding the stuff that we had in school, there was a lot of Australian educational stuff, which has been a big focus of what I've tried to bring back. But no, I haven't been able to really purchase anything. It's just been copy discs that I've picked up from teachers, over the last couple of years, but nothing like it used to be. I think a lot of that stuff is gone, sadly, but disc images are the best way to fill that void.
Yeah, that educational stuff is tough. I know what you mean. There's a number of games I remember playing in elementary school that I can't remember the names of, and I have sort of vague recollections of screens from those games. But yeah, I would have no way of finding them now. It's kind of sad.
Just a point on the upgrades that someone mentioned, the transwarp. I've got in one of these in 1989 Apple Insider magazine, and they've got an article, The Dream Machine. And I just wrote down they've got GS RAM Plus from Applied Engineering, 3,139. So that's about $6,000 in today's money. So it's okay you went without a disk drive, Chris. It was probably $6,000 too. You know, they're all so expensive. Everything just is mind-blowingly expensive.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah, I think our first Apple II Plus, the whole package, monitor and some accessories and everything, was $3,500 Canadian. Which, I think I did the math once, and that's something like $7,000 or $8,000 now, which, I think people don't realize how expensive these things were. And, of course, earning power was lower at the time, too. So, yeah, that's pretty astonishing. Let's see. All right, so I think I went all the way around on that one. Let's see. Yeah, as for myself, for me it was an Apple IIc. That was the thing that I always wanted, and we had a Laser 12080X, which was a great machine, but it, much like the GS, the 2C just has that allure, and the Laser, even though it's technically actually a better machine, it just doesn't have that something. It's it's the Android to your iPhone. It just it might actually be better on paper, but it just doesn't have that special something. So I got my 2C finally, and I'm very, very happy about it. All right, so Let's talk about KansasFest. It would not be an open apple if we didn't throw that word out at least a dozen times. It's two things we have to mention in every episode, KansasFest and Kevin Savitz. And now that we've got those out of the way, we can get back to some Apple II. So this question is sort of a conditional, because I know not everybody here has been to KansasFest, but if you have been to K-Fest, how would you convince someone to join us? Let's start with Kate, because this was your first year.
Yeah, and I've already started trying to subvert several of my friends to come, and I tell them it's sleepaway camp for nerds. You get to immerse yourself in this culture for 5 days, and you just meet the coolest people, and you have the neatest conversations, and I show them some of the videos of the presentations that were given, and it's just like, come, it's so much fun, it's so worth it, it's the best vacation you'll ever have. And I think I have at least one of them mostly convinced.
Excellent. All right, that sounds like a good approach. Let's see, how about you, Chris? You've been to one or two? How many?
Two. This is my second year. I would just say the sense of community, that's what really struck me. I've been to a lot of other conferences for work or school or whatever, and they're always mildly fun, and but this was the first conference that I kind of completely chose to go to just on my own, purely for fun. And just what I found was that just everybody was so nice, and everyone, I think, is just accepted with all of our quirks that we have, and you just kind of find fun things to do. And it didn't really matter whether you had something to contribute or whether you were just there just to watch. And so that was the thing that struck me, and kept me coming back, like this year, and probably again this next year. So just the sense of community.
Yeah, that's I like that point that you had in there, that the level of participation at K-Fest is entirely up to you, I think. Some people come and they spend the whole time sitting in the corner programming because they just want to have a week where they can do that, and some people want to go to every talk and go to every dinner, and you can kind of pick and choose. You kind of make it what you want it to be, I think. Yeah. Very cool. Let's see, Mike, I'm going to get to you eventually.
Of course. I think I would say, if you've ever dreamed of going without sleep for a week, being locked in a dorm, and talking about the most minute esoteric arcana of a 40-year-old computer that Apple hasn't made since 1993, have I got a deal for you?
So what is it about? So are you coming back this year, Mike?
I really hope
missed
so.
A couple of years. Okay.
The schedule permitting, yeah, I should be there.
Cool. So let me put you on the spot and say, what would it be that brought you back?
Well, every time I go, I see something new, and I learn new stuff about these computers. And most of all, I get to meet meet Apple II fans that I have either only had connection with, through text on the screen, or are new to the hobby. And that's always exciting for me.
Yeah, and more, I think KansasFest is becoming a sort of a retro computing community thing, and so we get lately we've had a lot of Atari and Commodore and other people, and a lot of but a lot of podcasters. So it's always fun to meet the people whose voices have been in your head all year. So now, Jeremy and Jorma, have either of you been to K-Fest?
Not yet.
We've got a pretty damn good equivalent, thanks. It's called WozFest, which is put together by the very, very diligent and very patient Sean. I can only sort of relate to what I've seen there, but yes, it was just a 3.5-hour car trip full of Apple II stuff, and to the unknown, I hadn't met these guys yet of the Apple sort of Sydney users group. Most are in Sydney, but some people have come in to stay on occasion. And to walk into a room with a huge table open up where there's a screwdriver in each corner of the table. Somebody, John's got a 32-voice MIDI setup going with the new MIDI card. Michael's brought a special Apple II clone. Then I turn around and there's a Tiger learning computer, that based on the Apple II there. And then on this corner there's a prototype Manila Gear, so Apple II clock going. It's just very stimulating to see other people's collections with an effortless kind of interaction between everybody, and a trust that, oh yeah, I can look at that, you can open this up. and you can get something fixed too. So I think, is that one of the aspects of KFest, is that you can sort of bring along your disk drive that's a bit stuck or your keyboard that doesn't work, and you can get some help?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I got so much help this year. It was fabulous.
And that's what struck me. I'll wrap it up there. It's just, so amazing to get that support. So I think our next one's coming up in April, and I hope I can get leave for that because, I've got a few more little tidbits on my 2GS I want fixed up. So
excellent. Yeah, the amount of expertise that is at these shows is astonishing. That how much other people know about this equipment, and how much can really be fixed that you wouldn't think can be. And yeah, it's terrific. All right, so the next question is sort of related. I guess it only applies to Jeremy and Jorma, since the rest of us have been. What would convince you to come on out to KFest in 2017? Let's start with Jorma.
There's no need to convince, but let's say 5,000 miles between Kansas and Helsinki is a little bit trouble. And when you have a family, there's a vacation time and all kind of these things. So those has to be solved first. So it hasn't yet happened, but it will someday.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Family comes first for sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Jeremy? Would you make all the trip from Oz like your countryman Michael Mulhern has done?
I've been saving the world one Macintosh and one Apple II at a time. So if you were to see my collection, you'd have to sort of realize I need to behave myself. And looking at that giveaway table and the photos that were put up on Facebook, I was just sitting going, so you'd have to convince me that the excess baggage costs were free. Other than the boring practicalities of leave applications and getting time off, but I mean, really, I just think I'd have too much fun. So I, keep it local and keep it sensible, Jeremy. There's only so much space.
True enough. You might have to start your own garage giveaway at WazFest.
Oh, garage giveaway! Don't get me started. That'd be really great.
All right. Let's see. So let's look to 2017, not just KFest and other conferences, but what are you looking forward to this year in the Apple II world? There's always stuff going on. There's new software. There's new hardware. There's new conferences and things going on. People are scanning and making YouTube and podcasts. What are you looking forward to? Even if it's just your own projects. Mike, how about you?
Well, I've got some. I've always got enough Apple IIs around here that are not quite working. Time would be great so that I could work on those fixed. And the problems that I can't fix, obviously, those are the ones that'll come to KansasFest with me. I look forward to seeing new hardware being cloned. Every time we think that we've seen the end of possibilities for Apple II hardware, somebody will clone a card that we didn't think we needed, and then I have to rush right out and buy one. I keep missing Nishida Radio's auctions that he has on eBay. He'll announce on Facebook it'll be up at midnight, and by 2 minutes after midnight, they're all sold. So I'm looking forward to a chance to getting some of that, and again, meeting new people that I haven't interacted with yet who are into the same hobby as me.
Yeah, if there's one thing about this retro hardware, some of it is, or this modern hardware, I should say, some of it is really hard to get. The CFFA 3000 and all the Nishida Radio stuff, the window is small. That's what's great about A2 Heaven. He's just producing that stuff, and you can just go onto his site and buy it. And I think that's really, really, really special.
Well, I think Nishida Radio was doing that for a while, and then, but unfortunately, it'll be there forever. I'll get it when I need it, and nope, too late. So.
Yeah, I made that mistake on a number of Nishida Radio devices. Yeah, I thought, I'll get that later, and then, it's gone forever. All right, Chris.
Yeah, well, I think we probably have enough SD card solutions for Apple II. So, I guess the more the merrier, and like Mike said, they're always kind of going out of production. So, but what I'd really like to see is more software, actually. I think like what Daniel Liverani did with his Genius game. We've got Michael Packard, who has his own Facebook page now and game programming. But also other stuff like more software for, say, the Ethernet card. I think what we've got a lot of hardware solutions, and even if you can't find something right off the bat, you can find it on eBay, and I think what we need now are just kind of more, software products that go with the hardware. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I would like to see.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think the hardware, it does get a lot more love. And yeah, I think safe to say 2015 was the year of the flash storage, and we got that covered. But I agree. I mean, I've got a lot of great hardware from all these sources. Like my Ethernet is a good example. I would love to be able to do something useful with that card. It's such a great card, but not a lot's going on there. We should also, we should call out Dig and Brock and the whole Lawless Legends crew, Jeremy Rand. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great software, and we need more of them for sure. All right, let's bounce back up to Jeremy.
In 2017, I'm looking forward to just going through, the vast amount of content that I've amassed for myself and actually using it, like reading and going through more disk images. I've been very grateful to find out that you can drag and drop a PDF onto the iTunes or onto the iPad through iTunes pretty easily. So I've got a lot of bedtime reading to look forward to. Hardware wise, and the Apple II itself, I'm pretty satisfied. I'm pretty lucky that Passport, the disk cracking, is still coming out with new versions, and I'm Fed Up is still being updated and getting easier to use. I just wrote down as well more automation with the cracking of disk images that would sort of just bring a few more things out of the woodworks that aren't quite usable. You can only boot the EDD image or something like that. It's not very accessible. So I'm just wondering if there's other solutions out there to get things more accessible to the rest of the Apple II community. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there's a big gap in our tech stack on the Apple II right now, it's an emulator that can use EDD images. That would be a real win, I think, for preservation emulation.
Well, just so I could test things, that the Open emulator only works with Apple II 64K. A lot of the disk images I've got needed 2E, so I don't even know, other than testing as much as I can before I actually hit the EDD button, that disk image is bootable in an emulator. So yeah, we've got a little bit of ways to go there, but I think anything we get is basically sent from an angel, because it's quite a dedicated thing to be programming for the Apple II community. It's very, very special work that those guys do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I would say if anyone's thinking about getting started with the software side of things, it is so much easier now than it used to be. The cross-platform tools, you can cross-develop from Xcode on your Mac to your Apple II at 10x the velocity, especially with emulators like Virtual 2 that have full debuggers and memory examination and breakpoints and all of that. It's just it's so much more efficient to write software now than it used to be. You can crank out a game in a week that would have taken you a year in 1985. All right, so let's move down to Jorma.
Yeah, I agree with Jeremy about the EDD files. It's a big problem. You have the files, but you have no idea if they work. But and the Open emulator is not being supported or developed anymore so often as it used to be. So I'd like to see it on working on other versions of the emulators as well. And I think I would like to see cheaper transwarp cards. I think there's some coming, maybe from A2 Heaven or so, but that's something to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kate, how about you?
I'm not. I'm such a rank noob compared to everybody else on this podcast. It's like I just like to learn how to remember how to program some of the things that I used to know when I was a tiny kid. Mm-hmm. Now I do kind of want to get into more on the programming side. I told a couple people that I wanted to learn assembly. A couple people are computer science teacher. My best friend, she's a math teacher, but she's also she's a CS major. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to learn Apple II assembly. And they just looked at me like, are you high? Are you stupid? Do you have a death wish? It's like, no. I really want to learn this because I want to see if I can. And I think that's really what's driving, I have these machines and now I want to see what I can do with them. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to. Aside from all the other cool things that you guys have all mentioned, my own personal voyage of, can I make this do what I want it to do?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. That would be part of my answer as well, that I'm looking forward to just, continuing to learn a lot of the programming that I wasn't able to do back then because I didn't have the books or, couldn't figure it out or whatever. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of that myself. And, I've been going through Chris Torrance's, re-release of Roger Wagner's book. And that's a great place to start. Like he really...
Yeah, I do have that book. I just need to... Time.
Yeah.
Time is a thing.
Yes, time is the kicker, isn't it? All right, well, speak of the devil. How about you, Chris? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I guess other than just more software, I think more time would be useful. I think, speaking of the assembly lines book, it's kind of funny because back in the day, I really just dabbled in assembly. And, it wasn't really until I actually started editing the book that I really kind of dove in deep. And I would love to be one of the people who's actually writing new games for the Apple II. And it's just, a matter of finding the time to do that. But, it's kind of fun to see what other people, like John Brooks has been doing with ProDOS. And, that's all kind of hardcore assembly code. And so, yeah, I think that's what I'd like to do is just kind of, have more time to play around with assembly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. All right. I'll throw my own 2 cents in there, I guess. I like what a lot of you said. Looking forward to, time to work on stuff. That's part of what I love about KansasFest is that it is just a week where I get to just sit down and work on Apple II stuff and don't have any other obligations. And that's really nice. And in terms of products, I'm really hoping 2017 is the year that the Idea 2C comes out from Reactive Micro / Ultimate Apple II. They've been... sort of teasing that product for a long time. It's, theoretically kind of everything that the Apple IIc is missing, flash storage and RAM and clock and all the rest of it all in one little package. So, I hope this is the year for the Idea 2C clone. We've seen prototypes of it and we know it exists, but just got to talk those guys into building it. All right, so that's about the last of the main questions I had. Let's go around one more time. If there's anything you want to promote, any projects you're working on, any links you want in the show notes, let us know and we'll accommodate. Let's start with you, Jeremy.
Just been constantly refining the file names and the content that I've got going on a publicly shared Google Drive sort of folder with magazines and disk images. So it only brings me joy knowing that people are seeing unpreserved stuff or seeing a different take on software and magazines. So just, use the link. I'll be sure to send that through. That's all I have really to promote. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll have that in the show notes for sure. Yeah, I've been to your Google Drive and it's a great read for sure. It's a time sink. You lose yourself in there. How about you, Jorma?
I can mention my blog, which I started a while ago, the FinApple. Mm-hmm. That's for collecting the small amount of Apple II history and Apple III actually also in Finland. If I can find it, I will put it there. So that's the point for the whole webpage. I might put some of my projects there as well, but so far it's pretty much a historical collections of Apple II in Finland.
Cool. Okay. That reminds me of a question. You mentioned that Apple IIs were never very popular in Finland at the time. Are they hard to find now? Like, is it really tough for collectors there?
Oh yeah. If you want one, you cannot buy one. You have to buy it from the eBay or somewhere else, but you cannot find them. They are non-existent.
Wow. Okay. So do you ship them from other parts of Europe mainly, or?
Usually, yeah. Or I use my I have put some advancements to the web pages, so I'm looking for to preserve software on machines. So somebody even actually donates them to me. Okay. But usually they are old people who have used them in the 80s also.
Well, if there's anything specific that you wanted, you should come to K-Fest, and I bet someone could supply it, and you could squirrel it home in your luggage.
That's a problem.
How about you, Kate?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do, I'm getting into streaming on Twitch TV, which is it's a gamer streaming platform. I don't know if everybody's familiar with it. I've been streaming mostly from my PlayStation because it's native, but time and money willing, because a good capture box is not a cheap proposition. But I'd really, really like to get into streaming Apple and retro stuff on my Twitch channel, which I will put a link to. And I'll send you, it's Twitch TV/Lady Sephiroth, and I can send you guys a link. But right now it's mostly PlayStation 4 stuff, but I really want to get into retro streaming.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd watch that for sure. Yeah. And how about you, Mr. Torrance?
Yeah, well, I guess I got a couple things. For the first one, which is my Assembly Lines video podcast, I actually have to thank Jorma for kind of kicking me in the butt and getting me to get going on those again, because I had about a 2-month hiatus, and he was finally like, hey, where are the videos? So I kind of got me motivated again, and so I started cranking those out. So yeah, check out my my YouTube channel, and hopefully I'll keep those going through the year. And I guess the other thing would be, I've been doing a lot of work with Roger Wagner lately on his Hyperduino, which isn't exactly Apple II related, other than, it is Roger Wagner, and it's also education related, which, it's kind of always been his main focus. And so it's kind of a cool project where, primarily aimed at maybe students, high school, middle, where they can, take a Arduino, put his shield. It's a shield that goes on top of the Arduino microcontroller, and it lets you create cool interactive videos. And you can create, say, a poster board for your science fair, and then have little sensors that you touch it, and then it fires up a YouTube video related to your poster. So that's been kind of a fun project that I've been doing with him, and yeah, maybe we can put the link to it in the show notes.
Cool. Yeah, definitely we'll do that. Yeah, and I'll also echo how much I appreciate your YouTube channel. And between you and Charles Mangan, I think you're sort of the sum total of really serious Apple II content on YouTube. There is not a lot of.
Oh wait, don't forget Joe. What about Joe Stroh?
Yes, thank you. Yes, for sure. And there are some others, like Lee Alexander's doing some lo-fi Let's Plays of Apple II stuff. So there's definitely scattered Apple II content out there as well. But yeah, always nice to see more of it for sure. All right, how about you, Mike?
Well, it seems sort of shameless and exploitative to promote my own stuff on my podcast, so I'm going to do exactly that. It's just really the scans that I do at apple2scans.net. I'm looking forward to getting more and more content up there, because that means less and less physical stuff in my loft that's taking up more space and irritating my wife. But I'd actually like to. I enjoy watching. I enjoy seeing what other people are doing with the Apple II, like the FinApple blog, Jorma. That's amazing. That's great, and it reminds me of thinking back how strange it was in Europe, where like now we have. France is, seems to be a hotbed of Apple II GS activity, and then really nothing else anywhere. So that's fun to explore the rest of the world that way. And Chris, I'm enjoying your videos, and I love seeing what Jason is doing over at Archive. There's just so much going on. It feels like I sort of feel guilty doing my own stuff, just because I feel like I'm missing out on everything that everybody else is doing. What about you, Quinn?
And I should say you don't even have to promote Drop 3 Inches to get your Apple III mention in, because Jorma dropped it earlier. So
how about that?
As long as someone has said Apple III on every show, then I think Mike's happy.
That's right.
These days, I guess my blog, Blondie Hacks, which I'll take any excuse to link to that, is sort of my source of my retro stuff. And I've got some Apple IIc projects on there, and I'll be continuing to add to that. I've got a bunch more Apple II projects in the pipeline, so those will be going up there, along with all my other crazy projects, some of which may or may not involve armor plating a cat feeder. But I think
that was awesome. I enjoyed that so much, you don't even know.
Yeah, the internet does love cats. That was one of my more popular recent posts. All right. So that's my list of questions. Mike, do you have anything you want to throw to the panel?
No, I don't think so. That was well done. We kind of brainstormed a little bit and thought that, the questions that we did in the past where, X happened in August, tell us about it, Timmy. Maybe we needed to refresh that a little bit, and I think we did a good job. And a lot of that had to do with everybody who was on today and came and talked to us. It was a lot of fun, and we really appreciate having you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking. It was an honor to be here.
Yep, I agree. Great.
Indeed, very surprising.
I'm not sure if it's good or bad.
Well, it's a great way to start the day anyway, looking at my notes and getting prepared for this. Thank you guys for the invitation and all the participants. Hearing your answers has been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will say, again, jinxing it, I can't believe we have a Skype call with 6 people in 6 time zones, and it seems to have gone off flawlessly. So we'll sacrifice a goat to the gods of Skype for this one. All right. Well, thank you all once again, everybody. And I hope everyone has a good 2017. And we will be back in February with another regular episode of Open Apple. And until next time, get going on some Apple II stuff.
Bye, everybody.
This has been the Open Apple Podcast. Subscribe to us in iTunes or visit us at open-apple.net, where you can browse our extensive catalogue of past episodes or read our blog. If you like what you've heard today, or even if you didn't, your comments, questions or ideas are always welcome. Send them to feedback at open-apple.net.
You can always count on Mike to come up with the most cynical angle on something.